Oh, that's a problem.
I just realized
That is a
this
big
opening
problem.
might not be big enough for the. Eddie, what have we learned from this project?
What we've learned is a lot more planning is helpful.
Yes.
A lot more planning.
And yelling. A lot of yelling is required.
I guess one thing I learned is they call them spec homes, and I think that means that we're supposed to get the specifications on everything that we're putting into the home before we start. Unlike what we've been doing, which is, oh, what we need this, we need that. Let's go find it now.
Yeah, we have been. Welcome to this week's video where we're going to be talking about drywall. Drywall has a bunch of stages. We're not completely done with it, so this is going to be a multi-day video. Today we're going to talk about hanging and the first coat. Make sure you guys hit that notification bell, subscribe, thumbs up, check out our Instagram. Let's jump out and talk about some drywall stuff.
So first step of drywall is getting the drywall delivered here.
And getting it hung. You want to make sure everything's hung properly.
No, we're not hanging yet. So actually what's interesting is they'll deliver the drywall and then you actually pay people to bring the drywall into each room individually.
We didn't pay people. The drywall guy had guys that did that.
Yeah, but he explained to me that just getting it delivered in front of your door is not good enough. You need to actually have them carry the drywall into the rooms.
Piece by piece by piece.
Yeah. Single piece by single piece, because drywall is really heavy, and if it's all stuffed in the garage, if you're having your hangers bring it over from the garage to the room, it's actually going to take you a lot longer to hang the drywall.
Before we go to the next thing, let's talk about how I messed up by getting the tractor guy to drop the drywall off in the garage, which caused a little bit of damage. It wasn't that big of a deal. It was cosmetic stuff. But I was so adamant about it, and I cleared out the garage just for him. He was like, I don't understand why you're doing this, but didn't really tell me. I didn't know that the guys were going to come and move everything inside the same day. So we also, this wasn't planned out. Our drywall guy said they're going to start on Monday. Saturday, they show up and they're delivering drywall. It made no sense. Like, no communication, nothing. He just boom, 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 getting the job done, which I like. I prefer communication, but I like getting the job done.
So you did a bunch of extra work that didn't need to be done.
Yes, because I don't know what I'm doing, and now you guys know, so you don't have to do it. All right, so what are we doing with these drywalls?
So once it all gets delivered, what's important to look at here is all the screws. So it's really important to have all your screws or nails, depending on if you're nailing or screwing drywall, spaced properly.
You probably shouldn't nail.
Why shouldn't we nail, Sam?
It's a lot of extra work. Your spacing on the nails has to be more. And another issue that we had is you can probably start your stucco a lot earlier if you're just drilling, because there isn't as much shaking or vibration of the house as hammering.
That's true. The other thing about nails is nails can actually end up popping out. So after you've mudded and painted, you might see little divots popping up as the house shifts from winds or earthquakes or whatever.
Another interesting thing, when they were drywalling here, I mean, you could see right here and right here. So they'll try to hit the stud, and these were marked out, but it's mudded right now. They'll mark out the studs and they might miss. And if they feel an empty hole, they don't leave the screw in, they pull it back out. The reason they do that, if the screw is in there loose and it's not attached to any stud or anything, just like a nail, it can pop back out. They make sure to pull it out, and you can see a couple of spots that'll get mudded over where they missed the stud and they pulled it out and attached it to the stud.
With that said, once they have all the drywall hung, they got to tape.
Whoa, 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 whoa. I thought inspections were important.
Oh, yes, inspections are important.
So we got to get inspection done. So let's talk about inspection, and I like my inspector's new attitude. I'm very happy with him.
So we're in the garage now, which is ironic because we're going to talk about inspection, and you don't need to put drywall in your garage. It's not required for inspection.
Actually, I think it is, because there's a fire rating on the drywall in the garage.
That's only between the house and the garage. So it can be on the house side drywall, needs to be fire rated between the garage and the inside of the home.
Okay, so we don't need to drywall this.
No, but why did we drywall this, Sam?
I don't know, tell them to take it out, it costs too much money.
It's nice to have your garage drywalled because it just looks nicer than having exposed studs. But the reason we're in here is because they haven't gotten to mudding over everything over here. So we can show you what the inspector was inspecting.
Keynote, you're technically not supposed to be taping until the inspector passes anything, but since our inspector really likes us and we're on like a common ground of liking each other,
It's the same inspector?
Same inspector. Didn't give us much of a problem. He walked in. He just checks the nailing. So we talked a little bit about spacing. On screws, you need to be 12 inches apart. I think it differs on the actual edges of the drywall. They need to be closer together, but I don't know the exact rating. Do you know?
No, I don't.
For the rest of the drywall, 12 inches apart. And for nailing, it's 7 inches apart. This is California, I think, or Los Angeles.
Something like that.
Basically,
don't quote us on it. Look into your own codes.
Yeah, look into codes for your own area and everything like that. So we basically walked around, made sure we got our screws right, made sure all the drywall was hung where it needed to be hung. Another interesting thing, like Eddie mentioned, is you need fire-rated drywall on the exterior walls of the garage, separating the garage from the rest of the house. We put fire-rated drywall throughout the entire house. I think the price difference isn't that big, so our drywall guy just ordered all fire-rated drywall. Other than that, we also had mold-resistant drywall, which will show you guys inside. But that's all after we pass inspection and we start mudding.
Start taping.
Taping, not mudding. So this is taping. And
so right here, they literally just roll tape in the joints of the two pieces of drywall. So over here is one big piece here. I don't know, I guess they use the small section here, another big piece on the top up here. Between all the joints, they have to put this tape to create, no joint, seamless drywall.
The reason they have a big piece here is because, I don't think you realize, but this is not a 9-foot ceiling. This is like 10 foot because the garage dropped down. So they have, the drywalls come in, ours are 4x12s, and they come in 4x10s as well. So these are 12 footers, 4 feet, and we got about a 2 foot here and then another 4 feet on top. So different drywallers hang it different, I've seen. Some of them put the little piece on the top, some of them put it on the bottom, some of them put it smack dab in the middle. Some of them lay their drywall like this and have seams down the middle. Everyone does their own thing. Let your drywall do what he wants to do. I don't think it makes any bit of difference. They do what's easier for them and what they're more comfortable with working with. You just got to make sure you get the level of finishes right. So taping and the first coat is level 1. So we're going to talk more about level 1, but let's talk about the mold resistant first. So we're in the master bathroom and I'm going to talk about the different types of drywall that there are. And you would be able to read this if this wasn't here.
Damn it.
You thought I was going to fall in it?
No, I thought I was going to move your hand into it.
So I don't know what happened here, honestly. I have no idea. I think they forgot to clean this up. If you see above between the green and the white, this is part of the first layer of mudding that they do, but we're going to talk about it a little bit later. This on the bottom is mold resistant drywall. So it's not water resistant, it's not waterproof, it's mold resistant. So you're more likely to develop mold in regular drywall versus this. So they put this basically any areas that might get wet. This is put here because of the sinks. So we're gonna have 2 vanities here. Vanities come up about 36 inches. This is a 4-foot piece, so it extends another foot above it. We're gonna have a mirror here, so our mirror is gonna cover till about right here or something like that. Basically, this is enough room to create any water splatter or like behind the toilet, for example. I know we all like to think we don't miss, but men miss a lot. And you don't want mold developing from your urine on the walls. That would not be nice. So this area, you guys can see the mudding looks a lot different from the taping that we just walked out of. This is, again, part of the first layer, but they tape it, they give it a day, and they come over and they mud it like this. They're basically gonna go over and eventually this entire wall is gonna have a skim coat of this compound. So let's jump outside, talk more about that, talk about problem areas, talk about corners, talk about reveals, talk about all the things that are incorporated in our drywall that we know thus far. Because next week we're gonna go into the next layers of the drywall, and that's gonna get more and more interesting. This house is gonna look more and more like a finished home.
So one thing we noticed is you gotta walk around your house and make sure there isn't things hidden behind the drywall that they forgot to punch out. So Sam and I were walking by here and we were like, hey, we have a light switch here, but where's the light? We used to have a light over here and we realized it's still stuck behind the drywall. So I put blue tape there so that I can tell the drywall guys that you gotta open this up, find our light. We're gonna put a sconce here. Can't have things hidden behind the drywall. This is one. They forgot a wire over there in the kitchen and they forgot the speaker wires along this wall. The way that we remembered where all these things were is we took 360 photos of the house. So if you guys have been following this channel, there's a 360 video walkthrough before the installation and everything that we took. you can go back and find that video. We looked at the photos, we checked out, hey, what's missing, what's not missing, and we put blue tape on the spots that we found missing.
All right, we're in front of the fireplace because we could show a lot of features in the house right here because a lot of it's right here. They did a lot more mudding here than in other areas. Because of the small drywall pieces, this becomes a little bit more difficult to work with. But,
Sam, how did we mess up over here?
Well, the way that Eddie messed up over here is...
I'm pretty sure you're the one measuring.
No, Eddie was in charge of measuring. If you guys recall from the last video, I was only doing like the drilling and the nail gunning and the manly stuff, you know? We measured this out to have the maximum amount of open space that we could without taking into account the drywall thicknesses.
Each hole has gotten 2 inches smaller than what it should have been, which is actually quite significant in this much space.
It's still fine. We're still able to put in the TV and everything the way that we need. This storage area does not have the most access, but the only thing we're going to essentially use this for is for the low voltage stuff, the cameras, all this back here stuff that you don't need out in the open.
But besides that, let's talk about these corners. So everywhere where you have 2 drywall pieces meet, they put these metal corners.
And the point of these metal corners is do you actually know?
No, I don't.
Okay, because if you have a not metal corner and you ding this, it's very easy to chip drywall. If you've ever tried to chip the edge of a drywall, it comes apart like this. It's very brittle. When they put the metal edges, it creates a nice corner, and then basically at the end of this metal will always be exposed. And when they paint over it, they're actually painting onto the metal and the rest of the drywall in mud.
I did not know that.
That creates a safety for any corners being hit or anything like that. So right here is our fireplace opening. We decided to drywall the interior of this just to have it nice and clean. This is going to be covered by the drywall.
By the fireplace.
Fireplace.
Oh, that's a problem.
I just realized
that is a
this
big
opening
problem.
might not be big enough for the fireplace the way that we have it.
That's another problem that we just discovered. We're gonna have to figure that one out. So besides these issues, they're doing the level 1 of the drywall, which is basically going over all the taped edges with more mud. So they're doing
taped edges, corners. They haven't started covering the nails yet, but they're also going to do that as part of stage 1 too. One of the things that's hindering them completing stage 1 is we haven't showed you guys the reveals on the ceiling, but we'll show you guys that in a minute. So down here, there's also shadow molding, which we'll get into once they drop off the metal and start installing it. This is going to be some point after the doors are installed because it's going to continue to wrap around the doors, but we can't really show you that right now because we don't have doors installed because Eddie didn't get a door installer to come today. So above me, these little metal straps that you guys see are structural straps for bearing walls, shear walls. I don't really know. Eddie knows that stuff. I don't really know. But they come in about 1/8 of an inch, and the drywall is 5/8 of an inch. So this will bump out the drywall a lot and create a problem here. So what they end up doing is they just cut out the drywall in all these areas, and we have a couple around the house, and then they're just going to mud over this completely. That way they can avoid any type of bumps and uneven layers. So that's another cool thing that I would not have anticipated or expected. So we're standing here in front of the kitchen so you guys can see behind us a couple of the levels and different levels of drywall. You don't see all of them, but also you see those little red markings? Those are markouts for the cabinets, where we're gonna put them, where all the appliances are gonna go. If you guys wanna see that video, which we're gonna be posting on later on in this series, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you guys want to help choose the finishes that we're using, make sure to follow us on Instagram because we're posting all the options and letting you guys kind of vote on what we're installing into the house. So let's jump back to drywall levels.
So level 1 is the first layer of taping and mudding. So you put tape and mud over the joints of the drywall and the first layer of mud on your screws.
The best part about the first layer is they use a bazooka to put the taping and mudding on the joints.
Yeah, I hadn't seen what that machine was or that tool was up until this project. It's pretty cool looking. They fill it up from a bucket.
So the bazooka, basically they pump the mud into it and then the tape flows with the mud and it just slides on. It's pretty cool. They have corner bazookas that tape corners. They have edge ones, and they also have the joint ones, which is mostly what they used here. So after that first level, we go to level 2, which is a second layer of mud, basically again over those joints and over the nails. depending on which area of the house you are in, you're gonna stop work at certain levels. So for example, behind us, they stopped on the lowers, they stopped at level 1 because the cabinets are gonna go there, so they don't really need smooth finishes. They don't need it to be really clean. They just need to make sure that there's no crevices that bugs can get through or any openings or anything that can come apart. So after level 2 comes level 3, which is when the house starts looking more like a house.
So at level 3, what they do is they feather out all the joints and the corners. So you want to feather it out so the wall looks pretty smooth. At level 3 is when you can do a textured kind of paint situation. If you're gonna do like a popcorn ceiling, you only need your ceiling to be at a level 3 and you can spray your popcorn. No one will be able to tell. It's pretty flat. If you're gonna do a textured wall, like a Santa Fe texture wall, you can do
Venetian plaster,
which we're gonna do in this house. You can stop at a level 3. So after that is level 4, where it's starting to look really, really smooth.
So level 4 is basically when they go out and then they address the highs and lows. We've noticed they use a different type of compound. It has a much more pinker hue to it. I see here they have green dot and red dot compound, and they also bring some other types of compound depending on where they're working. I don't necessarily know the differences between this, but that's something that your drywall guy needs to know. It's their job, and they'll probably do a good job if they know what they're doing. So once they put that on, essentially at level 4, you're done. You can paint the walls, they're good, they're straight. If you want to go the extra step, you get to the level of skim coat, which is what we did here.
With the skim coat, they use a much more runny joint compound. They add a lot more water to it, and they use a paint roller to paint it like they're painting the walls with the skim coat.
Imagine having too much paint on your roller and painting the walls. It's essentially what it looks like.
So after they get it all on the walls, they take a trowel and feather it out as much as they can so that they make a nice continuous surface covering every square inch of the drywall with joint compound.
That is why in the last clip you guys saw behind us, it looked like a white wall that was painted, but that's just straight compound from top to bottom.
After that dries, what they do is they come back and sand the walls to get rid of any peaks that are left from the troweling process.
They actually do sand and what they call knock off the mud that they put on. So depending on what level they are, they'll come through with their trowels and just kind of scrape the walls and scrape off any excess highs and lows. Throughout the different steps, depending on where they are in the house and what they're doing, which I've found no rhyme or reason to, but they kind of know what they're doing, they'll sand different areas of the house, different levels and different places.
They'll mark it out with the back of their trowel. They'll like draw on the wall like, hey, this area needs to be touched up. I don't see anything in a lot of the areas. Like I'm looking at it and it looks fine to me, but I don't know, they have a different eye than we do.
We're gonna go around the house and kind of point out some problem points and some details that we've used in the drywall and a couple of those things, and then we'll wrap up this video. But essentially, what you guys need to know is that there's 5 levels to drywall. If you're planning on doing a textured wall, you only need to go up to level 3. If you want to have smooth walls, level 4 is fine. If you want perfection, level 5 is what you're looking at. There's obviously an added cost for every level, so make sure you take that into account. And when you're picking out your drywall installer, make sure that they understand the levels better than we do, and they're able to tell you what the different prices are for that and figure out what fits your budget. So let's jump out to the details. So we're in the front bedroom where basically they messed up here because we didn't give them proper instructions. They drywalled this thinking that we're gonna have the barn style doors or hanging doors that slide in the closet, which is usually what people have. We're going a little bit more high end here, so we have actual physical doors that open. So we need these jambs to be open and the drywall to be removed. So we gotta take all these corners off, take out the drywall, and actually we're probably gonna have to, we had added a layer here to make it more narrow. We need it back out, so we're gonna have to rip that level of plywood off as well.
Wait, I'm not using a Milwaukee hammer. Right.
You're fired. In the front bathroom, we messed up on the location of the lights. You could see that they're kind of off level. So we gotta fix this. What we're gonna do is basically cut the drywall and move this up or down. I forgot which way it has to go. But it's something that we need to do. It's something that drywall guys know they're gonna have to come back and repair, especially in new construction. They know that there's gonna be issues like this where you're gonna have to move things and they're gonna have to come back and patch. So in my hand I have a Z-bar, which is basically what we're gonna use to create shadow moldings down here. So as you can see, we have gaps on the bottom of all our drywalls. This molding is gonna go here and it's gonna kind of float directly over the floors, and you're gonna have a recessed channel molding here. Similar to what we did in the living room. You guys see how amazing this is in the living room. We're actually thinking of also throwing up LED lights here. So let us know in the comments below if you think that's an added feature we should do, or if that's something we should leave up to the homeowner.
Sounds expensive.
Once we get the doors installed, we can have our shadow molding put in, and our shadow molding is actually gonna wrap around and go around the trim of the doors. So it's gonna have a very sleek, smooth, modern look to the house. This is definitely a artistic feat to complete with all the tradesmen, but it's something that we're gonna do. And that basically wraps up our drywall video.
We were hoping we would be further along in our drywall and we would have the doors installed, but we've been having a lot of issues finding a door installer. So they're gonna come at the end of this week, install the doors, then we'll call the drywallers back to come put in all the channel molds, and we'll be done with the drywall.
Before we end this video, let's talk about what you guys have all been waiting for, is the cost of drywall. So if you wanna calculate the cost of drywall for your home, what you wanna do is measure the square footage. Now, granted, bigger jobs, you're gonna get lower per square foot price, but in our case, at 16,500, we had 9,600 square feet of drywall we were putting up, came in at $1.72 per square foot. This includes the channel moldings, the reveals on the ceiling, a Venetian plaster here and there, and level 5 finish. So there's a little bit of additions here that we did that was included in our price, so you can use that as a reference. Once you calculate your square footage, multiply it by $1.70, and that's where you should pretty much land, material and all included.
That's it for this video. If you like this content, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel so you can see more videos like this next week, and we'll see you then.